we've got a bit of, what we sort of are calling a transcript. So I'm going to read you some of it, okay? This is from Todd Blanche's closing argument, skipping around here. And again, understanding this is not verbatim. This is from pulled together via Anna Bauer, Andrew Giuliani, and Katie Fang, who are diverse ideologically. So that's good. That's what you want to pull from. Okay. Blanche gets up there and says, President Trump is innocent. The district attorney did not meet their burden of proof, period. You should want and expect more than the testimony of Michael Cohen. You should want something beyond the word of a woman who claims that something happened in 2006. You should want more than Keith Davidson, an attorney who was really trying to extort money from Trump in the lead up to election. This morning, I'll talk to you about what you say and hear in the courtroom, but also what you didn't hear, what you saw, I guess that should say. This case is about documents. It's a paper case. It's not about an encounter with Stormy Daniels 18 years ago, which Trump has denied. It's not even about a confidential settlement. It's about whether, when Trump was living in the White House as leader of the free world, he had anything to do with payments to his personal attorney at the time. Were those payments false? Were they done with intent to defraud? The answer is absolutely not. They were accurate and done with no intent to defraud. Moreover, there was no conspiracy to influence the election. You cannot convict Trump on the words of Michael Cohen. There were key conversations he claimed he had, meaning Michael Cohen, with Dylan Howard, with Keith Schiller. Howard was AMI, Keith Schiller was Trump's bodyguard, Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump org, none of whom were witnesses in this trial. Michael Cohen is the witness they called. The words Cohen said to you mattered, and he said a number of things to you on the stand that were lies, pure and simple, I think it is. He goes to the business records that form the basis of the charges, focusing on the checks. Trump signed them while he was in the White House. You have to find that these documents were false and that he made them with intent to defraud. Don't forget, the checks themselves don't say anything incriminating. They're just $35,000 from the Trump org signed by Trump to Michael Cohen over the course of several months to pay back this $420,000, which we've gone over what was in there. But the stubs say retainer, and the prosecution's arguing that was a lie because there was no retainer because Cohen wasn't working for Trump as a lawyer in 2017. Trump didn't write retainer. Cohen submitted an invoice to the Trump org that said retainer for legal services performed. The Trump org had a drop-down menu of how we categorize all outgoing expenses. Legal expenses was one of the items, and they clicked it, and that's what happened. And in this stub for the check was just reflected what the lawyer had written on the check, retainer. Trump is not shown to have known about or approved or written any of that. All we have for the fact that Trump allegedly knew about a scheme to bill things as expenses when they were really reimbursements for hush money is the word of Michael Cohen, and that's what Todd Blanche is saying here. Okay, I'm continuing. Blanche turns to the vouchers in the Trump Organization ledger system. Deb Tarasoff, who worked for Weisselberg in accounting, Blanche says, told you these vouchers were put in the system. They were a result of what the invoice was submitted by Cohen. This is getting to the point I just made. And that was consistent with what she understood was happening at the time. Cohen was acting as Trump's personal attorney. They're trying to say what Trump said outside of the legal proceeding early on in this case. He was my lawyer. We put down legal expenses for the money I gave him. What's wrong? What's false? Tarasoff told you she never did anything at the direction of Trump. Blanche reminds the jurors, there's no dispute that Cohen was rendering legal services to Trump in 2017 while Trump was in the White House, and that he was serving as Trump's personal attorney. As a matter of fact, Cohen testified as much. There is a reason why in life that usually the simplest answer is the right one. That's not what Mr. Cohen told you on the stand. Mr. Cohen was paid to be President Trump's attorney. And Cohen, guys, did admit that while he wasn't working for him full time, he did at least a few incidents of legal work for Trump and Melania during 2017. He was billing himself as Trump's personal attorney. He was using that label to get other work. And even though they didn't sign a retainer agreement for that year, they had never signed one. Michael Cohen always worked retainer-free for the Trump organization. So it was not unusual for him to do that. I'm going to keep going, and then I'll bring you guys in. The government wants you to believe that Cohen, Weisselberg, and Trump had some kind of agreement to falsify the records, that Cohen wasn't working for that $35,000 a month, that it was a reimbursement, right, for the Stormy payment, among others. Then Todd Blanche shows a May 2017 email in which Cohen tells the recipient to call him about the foundation matter he was working on at the time for Trump. Blanche, the government wants you to believe Cohen was doing this work for free. Even if Cohen was working for a small fee, there was a retainer agreement, Blanche says. Just wasn't in writing, is their point. He mentions Cohen's testimony regarding his consulting retainer agreement with Novartis. That's how a retainer agreement works, Blanche says. You're on call. That's why he was getting $35,000 a month to be available if and when Trump needed him. By the way, I have an attorney on retainer right now. Same thing. He's not doing anything for me. It's if I need him, and if anybody messes with me, I will sick him on you, and it will be highly unpleasant for you. This is not unusual to have a lawyer on retainer for people in, significant posts. Michael Cohen was Trump's personal attorney, period. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll get to some of the rest of it. But he's trying to make the case there was no falsification. This is a falsification of business records case that the government can't even get past step one. What was written down was a legal expense. It was a legal expense. It wasn't a reimbursement. And those $35,000 monthly payments to Cohen were for actual legal work. The question is, will the jury buy it? Dave, let me start with you on that one.
Yeah, look, not for nothing. Another part of the prosecution case that you have to believe, in order to believe their theory of the case, is that Trump was aware of all of the details of these payments, right? Well, in order for that to be true, Trump would have had to have known that Michael Cohen was stealing $60,000 from him. I mean, that's established, right? Cohen admitted it. It makes absolutely no sense. It's completely bizarre. I will say, and you mentioned, how do you know about the jury? I covered the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. That was another situation, no cameras, no recording devices. It was even worse. You couldn't even have your phone or whatever. And it is very hard to explain to people who aren't in the room how the room feels, what's going on. I'll let you in on a tip. If you ever have to do it, sit next to a British journalist. They still learn shorthand. It's sorcery. These guys just have a transcript. You got to buy them lunch, but they'll tell you exactly. It's amazing what they can do, word for word. But I've watched all of this to the extent that you can watch it, and there's so many holes in this case. And I know that everybody says he can't get a fair trial because New Yorkers are Democrats. Look, I spent decades living in New York. They're Democrats, but they're not idiots. They're Democrats, but they're not fundamentally dishonest. And I'm very hopeful that this jury is going to come back and tell the prosecution that they didn't make their case, because I don't want to live in this America where we say, oh, well, this is in a blue district, so that the outcome will be this way. This is in a red one. It's this way. So I think it would be wonderful for the country if this jury looks at how flawed this case is, makes the right decision, and we can all take a little sigh of relief.
I wish I were as confident as you are. I just think this judge is leading them right to the conviction water, and it's going to be very hard for them not to drink.
Yeah, I'm an optimistic guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm neither an optimist nor a pessimist, but I'm a bright sider. I would say I'm a bright sider. But I just don't believe that. I don't know. Now I'm thinking, does that make me an optimist? If you're a bright sider, maybe you are. Anyway, a story for another day. I just don't. I think they will convict him. I do, because I think that their partisan instincts will be, let's get rid of him. We have an opportunity. And I think the partisan judge is going to make it next to impossible for them not to. I wouldn't be shocked if there is a holdout on the jury, but I wouldn't bet on that. That's my own statement now. Who knows? I've been wrong before. Stu, it is interesting to hear them methodically go through. They're spending a lot of time. They're only going to do 2 hours. We heard that Team Trump did not want to bore the jury. They were very cognizant of the fact that this jury does not want to sit there for 10 hours of a closing. So they said, we're going to limit it to 2.5 at the most. We're in break right now. And they were hoping the prosecution would do the same. Then we heard the prosecution's closing was going to be about 4.5. You know why? Because they have to stitch together a Frankenstein of a legal case. There are so many hoops they have to jump through. The judge has ruled now that you don't actually have to all unanimously agree on which underlying crime Trump committed when he was falsifying business records, you could think he violated a tax code. You over there, ladies and gentlemen, on the end part of the jury box, could think he violated election law. You in the middle could think he violated Murphy's Law. And as long as everyone agrees he violated a law and that the financial records being written as they were was an attempt to conceal it, you're home. So this is what I say when I'm like, horse, water, conviction, drink.
Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It just feels like everything has been tilted. The whole playing field has been tilted to get this result. And I think if you go up to the average person in a normal situation and you say, all right, well, you have to believe a bunch of different things. You have to believe that he had the affair with one or both of these, women. And I think a lot of people would say they think he did. And then you have to believe that he made these payments, right? And I think, there's fewer people, but some would agree with that as well. But then you also have to believe that he made these payments with the intent of holding on the election and not for personal, gain or protecting his family. And then you have to also believe that he falsified the business records to protect the election that had already occurred. Because even if you get to all of these different things they've set up that you need to believe to convict him in this case, fundamentally, he's not being charged with the affair. He's not being charged with the payments. He's being charged with the business records that all occurred after he was already president. So how could he be fixing the election if he was already president when he was doing these things? It makes no sense. It makes no sense how they turned this into 34 felonies when, we're all really talking about one incident, right? We're talking about one payment that was broken up into 12 payments, a bunch of checks that he signed. But how is he charged with an individual felony for Michael Cohen submitting an invoice? None of this makes any sense logically. But because this judge, as you point out, Megyn, has tilted this playing field in this way, he's not allowing a lot of that to even be considered. A lot of this is just sort of being brushed aside. And there's a very specific thing they have to come to. And I hold out a little bit of hope, maybe not much, but a little bit of hope because look if you look at New York State, something like 30% of people voted for Donald Trump. There are certainly people that even voted
Only 13% voted for him in Manhattan, Stu, which is where this jury came from.
It's true, but 13%. And these are 12 individuals, not just 12 random individuals off the street, but 12 individuals that the Trump team had a large hand in allowing onto the jury. So is it possible that one or two of them just come through and say, wait a minute. I get that I don't like Donald Trump.
Now, wait a minute. This is like, being sent to Jenny Craig HQ with an assignment of emerging with a supermodel, right? Like a waif-like supermodel from the 1990s. You could probably find someone who's not quite as ample as the other gals, but you are not going to emerge with a Kate Moss. That was the assignment that Trump's lawyers were given in doing jury selection. Do you owe back taxes? Pandemic relief is now over. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, oh joy, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. No one wants to get those letters. Don't waive your rights and speak with them on your own. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you. Whether it's business or personal taxes, even if you have the means to pay, or if you are on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call 1-800-245-6000 for a private free consultation or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.